Hi, and welcome to Inbloxme Talk Show. Today we have a very special guest, and it is a special edition after all. We have Nilotpal Mukherjee, the co-founder and chief business officer of Marlin Protocol. He's here to share his journey, how he got into the blockchain network, the ecosystem, a very funny and interesting story of how he ended up being in the ecosystem and now being involved in such a big project. Big statements, coming out from him for what's happening in the Marlin Protocol project. How is it getting backed by some of the leading investors and accelerator programs around the world? Everyone's been looking at them. They've been doing some amazing work in the scaling solutions category in the blockchain system. People who are working on it, you should definitely watch it. You will learn a lot from this discussion. We'll get to know him personally. We'll get to know what Marlin does. Why is layer zero scaling so important? Why is scaling of projects, done by a third-party solution so important, which is network agnostic? We'll learn all of that, and we are very, very happy to welcome a very dear friend, Nilotpal Mukherjee, who shares a bunch of experience coming from the banking segment, Deutsche Bank, Citi Bank, and also following it up with his consulting career in Accenture. Hi, Nilotpal. How are you? Welcome to the show, and thank you for taking this opportunity to fly down from Bengaluru and Kolkata, and you keep flying most of the time. We're very happy to have you on the show. So, starting to know about you, you have been raised up not in Delhi or not in a metropolitan. How was your journey growing up? And so a bit about that and a bit about your family and personal life.
Sure. First of all, thanks a lot, Abhimanyu, for calling me here. It's definitely a privilege to be a part of this Inblox fraternity. So my experience in blockchain and even prior to that has been quite interesting, to be honest. So I've grown up in mostly in multiple cities. I started my journey in Ranchi, then moved to Dhanbad, stayed there for multiple years, then moved to Calcutta, wherein I did part of my studies, basically the engineering I completed from there. And then my journey started in the field of, I moved to SAP Consulting, wherein I was with ITC for a while. Then, as you said, I was in the management field as well. So I did my MBA from FMS in the years 2013 to 15. And then from there, I worked with a couple of banks, including Citi and Deutsche, wherein in Deutsche, I was as an investment banker, and Citi, I was mostly in the corporate banking side. And then from there, I moved to Accenture Consulting, wherein my stint was mostly in the strategic consulting domain. And that kind of continued till the end of 2017. But then this is more about my corporate exposure. But then the blockchain side has been even more interesting.
Absolutely.
Over the last 5 years, to be precise. So my entry into blockchain was very different from many other people. So what really happened was, in the year 2013, I had purchased a second-hand car. I didn't have much money then. I just purchased a second-hand car wherein I thought maybe I will just try my hands on that and just learn to drive, because I never knew to drive before. So I got the car, but then sooner than later I realized that the car was giving me hardly 6 kilometer per liter mileage. And you can sense the difficulty which I faced. I had to travel almost 30 kilometers every day and was spending almost 700 rupees on petrol. So it was worth nothing.
Not making sense.
It doesn't make any sense over there. So I was looking for someone who can buy that car from me. So somehow I put it up on OLX, and I found a lady who came to purchase the car.
Yes.
I was thankful to God.
Don't tell me that she paid you in Bitcoins.
Let me complete the story. It's interesting. So what happened is, this lady, when we started discussing, this lady told me that, and I was asking her about her life, what she does, and whether she does anything for career and all. She was in her mid-30s, and she said, I do something which no one really understands. I said, you can try your luck. Because I have been in multiple fields, so I think I might know.
You have a broader knowledge of things. Yes.
So she said, I'm sure you won't know. I said, okay, again, try your luck. And then she said, I'm into the field of blockchain and I do Bitcoins. I said, what do you do in Bitcoins? I have heard about it. She got really excited, to be honest. She was she found someone in an entire pond who just knew something about Bitcoin.
Absolutely. And this was a couple of years back, obviously.
This was 5 years back. 5 years back, literally. 2015 beginning, 15 beginning. So I was lucky to find her to sell my car, but then I was even more lucky to find her to teach me about Bitcoin. And that's where I learned what it is. She taught me about Bitcoin for almost 4 hours. And I think it's the biggest mistake I made in my life. I guess I can claim it now. That she told me, she in fact said, and the car was supposed to be sold for 1.5 lakhs. So she told me, she in fact offered me, that guy, there's a new coin in the market. I said, what is that coin? She said, this is something similar to Bitcoin, but it's new and it's good. I said, what's the name? She said, it's Ethereum.
Oh man.
And then she said, would you prefer to take the payment in Ethereum? 1.5 lakhs.
Yeah.
I had no clue what Ethereum is then and what was the price.
You could have bought 2000 Ethereum right now.
If I look back now, Ethereum was hardly 100 rupees then in Indian currency.
Yeah.
And she wanted to give me the entire payment in Ethereum, which was 1,500, I think 1,50,000.
Yeah.
I consulted my dad because obviously at that time 1.5 lakhs was a decent amount for me. So I consulted my dad and I asked him whether I should. He said, bro, and like most other Indian parents, they're always conservative, right? So my dad said, no boy, it's not happening.
If it's not physical, it's not real.
It's not. Absolutely. That was precisely what he said. So what happened is I rejected the offer. I said, ma'am, I need it in currency. And then she finally told me, okay, I've got your card. I'm super happy that you've given it to me. And just out of that gesture, I'm going to give you 1,000 rupees of Ethereum.
Oh.
You can try it out. You can just keep it.
Yeah.
So I got that first Ethereum of mine.
That's
for
great.
1,000 rupees, I think 7 or 8 Ethereums that I got. And I kept it in the wallet.
Then you went to the whole process of actually procuring. See, the thing is, the adoption is basically difficult at the moment because people have not been able to understand how to use these. All right. The wallets were not as, the payment system ecosystem in even in digital currencies was not that big at that point of time. So when she said, okay, will you accept in Ethereum, then you have to make an address for yourself, an Ethereum address. And for that, she must have guided you all throughout.
She did all of it for me.
And that was great. So people like them are angels, in the
My
network.
lucky angel in
Exactly.
blockchain space.
Exactly. And even now, because now I would like to tell people that, there are so many wallets. It's super easy to get on board to any of the digital currencies that there are. Bitcoin, Ethereum, anyone you say, or any other ERC20 tokens as well. It's super easy to adopt now. There's too many in India. Obviously, onboarding is very difficult through through the fiat currency towards the digital currencies. But on a global level, adoption is pretty easy, and people are doing that. It would not be the same experience that you've probably faced at that point of time when you needed someone to set it up. But if there are people in your life who are connected, I would say, to the ecosystem, and they understand, they have a basic level knowledge and understanding of the ecosystem, they should be the people always guiding you and making you do, take that first step, take your first leap, and get your account addresses, and start accepting and even start paying in it. I always tell my team here as well that you guys should start taking it in crypto rather than in fiat, which sometimes makes more sense. So moving on, it was like 2015. Those times you were still in Accenture.
2015. Yes, I was working with Deutsche back then, and then I moved to Accenture after that. Now,
so I would like to ask you, how that your journey in the beginning of your life has been from small towns to small towns, and you've seen the culture in all these countries. People are very warm, unlike cities. And then when you grew up and you did your engineering, and post that you did your management, and post management, you started traveling a lot. And all of those travels was abroad. You went to Singapore for a bit. You've been in London. You've been in Europe, Ireland. You've been also in Dubai, on and off. And so all these heavily infused metropolitan cities, all right, where there's so much culture, I would say cultural synergies coming from different traditions. And so how was that shift, and how did it make you change, and your mindset, how did it get so broader that now today you're sitting and working on things like, relay networks, cybersecurity, data security, data privacy, and making these kind of ecosystems build up on a solution that we'll later talk about. So what was that change in mindset that came throughout from a small town kid, all right, grown up, and got a bit of taste of Delhi and all of that, and then started traveling and going ahead, because those kind of things would have made you think that, hey, I'm traveling cross borders, all right, I've always worked in the payment systems, like traditional payment system network, which is the banking, and now when you would have been traveling, even when you were in Accenture, and since that lady's experience, crypto might have been coming back to you at different places, So what was that experience, and how
interesting?
How would you want to, could you tell us more about that experience?
Sure. So 2015 was my first break at the crypto industry. So that's when I got to know about it. And then from there on, I was with Accenture after that. I traveled, as you rightly said. Now, what really happened, what really changed in me since 2013 to 2016 was that this MBA that I went through, program that I went through, it really taught me that everything is achievable. Whatever you want to dream, you can easily achieve it. Because to achieve something, you eventually have to have the network of people who can help you achieve it.
Absolutely.
Right? Before that, my network was not that strong. After that, my network became strong. So that was one area of change within me that kind of made me believe that anything and everything is achievable. And I started to dream big. Now, while I was in the process of dreaming big, obviously Accenture was on the way of that journey, whole journey. And I met several people, different cultures, different industries, and even gave me further wings to dream even bigger.
Yes.
Now, this crypto happened to be that dream, in fact, the wings, which kind of added to the dream that I was basically trying to look up to. So, initially when crypto happened, I got to know about what Bitcoin is, what Ethereum is, what this blockchain is. But then later on, I got hooked onto the concept of decentralization
Yes.
and trust. Like
Absolutely.
Complete trust.
Trustless system.
Trustless system.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really pulled me into the system. And gradually I started experimenting, exploring the ecosystem. I was still in Accenture. I was exploring the blockchain industry pretty closely.
And you were pretty close to your MD as well at that
Absolutely.
point of
I
time,
was.
who wanted you to stick, but you made a choice that
Yes.
the calling was so hard.
It was very hard. And
Yeah.
I always, since 2014 onwards, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, to be very honest.
Yeah.
So 2017 end and 2018, I started a product of mine called Lattice
Network.
Yeah, so I really went all the miles for that. But then
Yeah.
due to some technical here and there, like, in fact, I was not from a very technical background, right?
Yeah.
So
I was a pretty similar idea or a part of it,
Yeah.
which was very similar to Inblox as well.
Correct, absolutely.
And you know, that's why it makes like so much sense that
Yeah.
you know, now that someone else is doing it, and
Correct.
you've seen me how I do it,
Correct.
and you've even seen the application front
Correct.
and stuff like that. So I also believe some things like if you wanted to do something and you got a chance to do something else, let's say,
Correct.
and that didn't happen.
Correct.
The good thing about, you know, life is
Yeah.
someone else should do it.
Yep,
You know,
absolutely.
and that's why, because it should be as a service made available,
Yep.
well, it's a solution.
Absolutely.
It might be a very big problem statement in the
Correct.
market,
Correct.
which needs a solution. And even if someone else is working on it,
Yep.
it's a completely decentralized environment, as we say. So a mindset is of that culture, you know, that
Correct.
cultural tradition of making your own things and growing your own things
Correct.
and tradition from the business. They've actually gone out now,
Correct.
right? So now is the point where if you didn't make it, we're sitting together,
Yep.
and we're trying to build up things together
Yep.
at the moment as well. And we're in a very similar concept that you were
Yep.
about to make back in those times.
Absolutely.
You know?
I think collaboration is one thing which I have always believed in, and Lattice's motive was to kind of enable
that.
collaboration. I'm really good that you guys are working on it right now.
Yes.
Pretty good about it. But then when I had to shift from Lattice to this other things that I wanted
Yes.
to do, and moving on in life is also equally important.
Absolutely.
So I was basically looking for models which are cutting edge, and which essentially was the pain points for the blockchain industry. And
Yes.
even in Lattice, at one point, I got stuck with the scaling efficiencies of blockchain.
Absolutely.
And that's
and
pretty
you're finding
much-
that problem solution, you know?
Yes,
That problem
yes.
solution led you to meet someone known as Siddharth.
Absolutely.
And-
And there were a couple of, and when you start looking for certain things, you automatically start getting connected to people who are
Yeah.
in that field.
Yes.
And via that, in fact, it was that endeavor of mine that kind of connected me to Siddharth, the team of Marlin. Then it took me about 3.5 months to kind of discuss with each other what we are doing, kind of sync up with each other.
Yes.
And finally, when the syncing was up to mark, and we realized that yes, we have got good synergies over there because the team is highly technical, and I come
Yes.
with a very good business background.
Yes.
So we found extremely good
Great
synergies over
synergies
there.
together.
Again, collaboration. So we
Absolutely.
found synergies there,
Yes.
and we connected.
Yes.
And since then, since last year June, I'm involved. In fact, even before that,
Before
I'm
that-
involved with Marlin.
So
And, yep.
yes, absolutely, and I'm pretty sure that, you know, that kind of solution that you stumbled upon,
Yep.
and then you gave your time, your effort, your energy,
Yep.
and your dreams towards it,
Yep.
has obviously is going to make a big difference. It's
Yep.
going to make a big change. I
Correct.
am sure about that.
Correct.
All right, and let us get to know Marlin a little better.
Sure.
And our, you know, people who would be watching this video,
Yep.
they might be from a technical side, they might
Yep.
be from a non-technical side.
Correct.
So let's balance both of the things
Perfect.
while talking about
We
it, right? Marlin as a solution, what it is,
Yep.
what does it do,
Yep.
and, you know, later on, what kind of people are involved in it
Yep.
as well, right? So, and even when you met them,
Yep.
were you in Bangalore, and how did this happen?
Yep.
And what were these guys making that kind of attracted you?
Yep.
And then you put your business mind in it
Correct.
and made things even bigger and better.
Correct.
So we would love to know that.
Sure. So let's start with what Marlin is in a line, possibly. So in a line, Marlin is a layer 0 scaling solution. And
That's interesting.
Yep. And it's purpose built for efficient peer-to-peer communication and almost gives a private network-like performance to the entities who are a part of it. And the biggest part of Marlin is it kind of enables a throughput efficiency of almost 500 times, up to 500 times on existing blockchains which are out there, and also gives very low latency transactional capabilities to the models which are running on it. So that's pretty much what Marlin is in a gist.
In a gist, it's very well put, and it is the best thing is it's network agnostic, all right.
Yes.
In a way, highly network agnostic. And
because
it gives
it's a layer
people,
0 scaling.
It's a layer 0 scaling.
Correct.
And people would not, we'll come to that.
Yep.
And we'd love to know more about layer 0 scaling as well.
Okay, sure.
But who are these people who are building Marlin? Could we know about a bit of them and the set of advisors and mentors that you've, with time gathered? What kind of, muscle power
What's the strength of Marlin,
muscle power is what, we say.
Correct.
What is the team and the army's muscle power that they're carrying right now?
Yeah.
And, people would like to know that as well.
Sure. So when I joined Marlin, it was essentially the team because it's the team which builds any product, right?
Core
so
team.
It's the core part of any business model. So it was the team which kind of attracted me towards Marlin. So first of all, let's talk about our CEO Siddharth. So Siddharth comes with a very strong computer science background. He is, and like I just want to put it up over here that all the team members, most of the team members are at some point in time were members of IIT Mumbai BTech Computer Science batch.
Most of the people that you said
most of them
are from IIT Mumbai.
Yes, and then they have moved on to do further studies somewhere.
Absolutely.
So let me talk about Siddharth first. So he is the CEO of Marlin and very well adept guy to kind of lead the team. So he's also ex-Zilliqa co-developer. He started his venture in the blockchain space with Zilliqa before, I think, which is almost $1 billion. It reached a couple of $1 billion when the markets were high.
Yes.
Now, Siddharth, as I said, he's also an IIT Mumbai alum. And his past experience was in companies like Adobe, Microsoft. He's got 2 patents in his names as well from Adobe. And he's also acknowledged by the European Union for his work in the Internet of Things and services. Yeah. So he's the CEO. Then we've got Pratyaksh Sharma. So Pratyaksh is essentially a Stanford graduate. And he's working under Professor Tim Rogarden. His past experience includes companies like Facebook and Pinterest. And he's done extensive research on computer networks from IC Irvine, UC
Irvine.
Yeah, UC Irvine, then Stanford, and obviously at Zurich as well. Then we have got Pratish, who's our core researcher. He is currently an MIT graduate, and his past experience also was in like computer science, BTech, IIT Mumbai, and he was a gold medalist from there. So he was a batch topper there.
Yes, and you've been getting a lot of support from the MIT as well.
Absolutely. So he comes from MIT, and then his professor, who's Hari Balakrishnan, he's probably the most known networking professor globally. And his recent product has also got about a $1 billion funding recently from South Bank, which is Cambridge Telematics.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so his Hari Balakrishnan, he's also supporting
Cambridge Telematics.
Yeah. So he's also supporting us in this venture, in this entire thing. Then we've got Roshan, Amol, they are our core blockchain developers.
From the Middle East as well.
So they are working from,
so everyone, you have a great network.
Yep.
The team is located in such, spots of the world. And
so we kind of cover the entire blockchain ecosystem.
Yes, absolutely. You have Southeast Asia.
So
you've got Middle East. You've got Europe from London. You've got Middle East from Dubai. You've got Southeast Asia from Singapore. And you've got the Americas from States.
So Pratyaksh, Pratish, Siddharth, they are mostly focusing on the US market. I keep traveling between Singapore, Dubai, Indian, and the eastern, like this part of the world.
Absolutely. And a lot of great work in South America as well. Not to forget, and even Canada. So the Americas as a whole, great set of opportunity there as well.
Correct.
And you guys are building a solution which is much needed for other solutions to scale up.
Absolutely.
And that is an integration. That happens, you need the foremost term is collaboration. Is what you need.
Absolutely.
People need to trust you. You are building a great product. You need to show them that it's highly secure. When the throughputs, if you're scaling up the throughput, then you're scaling up the inter-process communications.
Correct.
You're relaying data faster than anything else. All right. And when this happens, the pipelines are run in a fully anonymous way, a fully decentralized setup, and that makes the whole game. And that's the game catcher, right?
So I think we missed out on the advisor sets.
Yes,
we've got some really promising set of advisors.
Who are the set of advisors?
So Hari is one of our advisors. Then we've got Ethan Fast, who's the co-founder of Neon Exchange, Nex, which was one of the most promising coins last year.
Better known as Nex.
Yes. Then we've got a couple of advisors from Axel Partners. We've got Ravi from UC Berkeley. Like he's also helping us. He's a professor. And then we have got a special advisor in the form of Rogelio Choi. So he's was the ex-CEO of BitTorrent, which got acquired by Tron. And then he worked there as a business head in Tron, and now he's kind of started his own startup again. So, and then we've also got Mr. Kittu as well. So he's MD of Neo8 Ventures, a very promising, in fact, a unicorn he's built multiple unicorns in the networking space. So we've tried to kind of bring a good mix of business
it's actually a great set of people
and network advisors, so that we can kind of overall pull off a model, which is quite challenging, because scaling the network layer is something which has not really been done.
You guys took time to derive the model really well. You know, any business in the beginning itself should do that, because you're providing a scaling solution to others, but then you need to have a great model to scale yourself. You know, as a business. And I think your involvement and your strategic background, you know, from Accenture and even before that, really, you know, synergizes out. It integrates well with what they needed.
The business of the tech.
Yes. So you now are working in a capacity of being a co-founder to this product, and the chief business officer. So obviously, it is imperative that India will definitely reach a level of, you know, a benchmarking in terms of, you know, being outspoken by other people in terms of technology, in terms of engineering, because India has always contributed well to these spaces. You know, even if you go in rocket science, or even if you go in aeronautics, even if you go in you know, any other kind of automotive engineering, India has actually made a decent level of you know, progress, especially in the past 25 to 30 years. After post-globalization. And now it's very, very important that India doesn't miss this wave, because India's missed most of the waves that came before this, right? Even if it's the stock markets, even if it's anything else, everything, the technology comes in way later. And a lot of problem is based on policy making as well. You know, the IP Act took so many years to, you know, get properly drafted and come through as a practice in the Indian ecosystem. Still, there are so many problems in OIDAR solutions, or, you know, other things. So online data privacy, or online data access management, or online data access selling, all these kind of services and subscriptions that any parties do cross border, when the server is not lying in India, it makes it very, very difficult even now for technological companies to work like that. So and even the taxation and everything coming with it, the economic policy or the regulatory policy overall, which you know, is all encompassing to the finance segment or the technology segment or the licensing segment or the legal segment. It's all creating a bottleneck ultimately for people like you and me to make things happen in the domicile that we want to be in. We would love to be in India, make things happen in India, and we're not able to do that for a reason. Right? We always request like everyone to, you know, give us a shout out in the end of what you guys think in terms of how, you know, in the Indian ecosystem should basically progress towards a future, or a statement to the, you know, authorities that can, not now, but we will definitely in the end, we would come to that, so that we get your views as well, and what Marlin as a whole, you know, thinks about these kind of policies. So at the moment, how's your business structured? You know, where are you based out of? And you know, because you're in multiple countries, but your positioning is from where, and who do you see as your best clients? Who should be the ones who should be looking at Marlin as a solution to help them scale or increase the throughputs? And how does this layer 0 scaling help them?
So I think for that, it's quite imperative that we understand what layer 0 scaling is, because we've still not delved into the layer 0 scaling aspects of things. So to understand layer 0 scaling, it's quite important for you to understand how the entire blockchain ecosystem works. So in a blockchain ecosystem, what really happens is there are 3 different layers. If you dissect the blockchain ecosystem, there are 3 different layers. The bottom layer is the network layer, which lies at the base. Then you've got the consensus layer, and then you've got the application layer.
Absolutely.
Now for a particular blockchain to work, normally blocks are the building fundamental units of a blockchain, right? Which consists of the transactions in it. Now, once a block is created by the process called mining, the miners need to float the block or send the block throughout the network and then diffuse it to all the other nodes, so that they can collectively come to a decision, which is called consensus. Now, So as you understand right now, that consensus is the central layer through which like the decisioning, collective
Absolutely.
decisioning is taking
Absolutely.
place, and the application layer is where the storage of this final transaction happens. Now it's the network layer which is helping in the propagation of the blocks, which
Yes.
is the peer-to-peer propagation. Now, to understand the efficiencies of scaling, you would have to understand how the market has evolved so far in the last few years. In the last 2-3 years, you must have seen that there are tons of solutions which has come out, right? Like in the consensus space, you would see there are so many consensus modules which have been built up. Projects like Zilliqa, EOS, Definity, and others, they're coming up with their own consensus modules to increase the throughput of transactions. Whereas some off-chains and side-chain solutions like Plasma, Raiden, Lightning are also coming out. They're trying to create a parallel chain so that the bloating on the main chain can be reduced and most of the transactions are pushed there. Finally, whatever the output is pushed back to the main chain. But then of all these solutions that we have, in fact, even Zilliqa is working on the sharding technology,
Yes.
wherein you need inter-shard communication. Now, and there are so many POS solutions as well, like proof of stake solutions,
Yes.
which kind of makes the network highly centralized because there are hardly few nodes, like delegated proof of stake and
Yes,
others,
yes.
highly centralized solutions, right?
Absolutely.
So in effect, what you eventually get is a network or is an ecosystem which has got its complexities,
Yes.
which is not fully decentralized, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And which definitely comes with its own set of challenges,
Absolutely.
right? And most important,
No one wants to create another Ripple network.
absolutely.
You know?
No,
Yeah.
the biggest challenge right now that we're facing is the industry right now is getting fragmented.
Yes.
Because it definitely wants to create its own ecosystem.
Yes.
EOS wants to create its own ecosystem. And now when you have so many cooks trying to come together and cook something, the network gets fragmented.
Yes.
Someone goes there, someone goes there. It's like forks happening everywhere,
Yes.
right? So eventually the adoption is taking time, right? So now when you approach scaling more from this application, the consensus in the application layer, you effectively end up splitting the network even further because
Yes.
your network
Absolutely.
doesn't work on collaboration
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
So what we decided or what we realized is if there is a solution which can help you scale everything on top of it agnostically,
Yeah.
how beautiful would that be?
Yeah.
We don't need any splittings.
Exactly.
We just become an enabler for the entire ecosystem, just like you are trying to become
Yeah.
an enabler. We become an enabler for the entire ecosystem to scale agnostically. It's a
Exactly.
beautiful approach.
That's great.
So that's what Marlin's aim was. So we aimed to have three basic, like Marlin runs on three fundamental pillars. One, Marlin wants to be a high performance block delivery network. It wants to be the communication standard for Web 3.0. And Marlin certainly wants to be a high performance decentralized network, an open protocol for a high performance decentralized network.
That's amazing.
These are three major aims that Marlin has. Eventually, what Marlin wants to achieve is to create, in fact, help the entire ecosystem become scalable or achieve their scaling limits, whatever it is. Because be it the layer ones, be it the layer twos, whatever scale they achieve, they eventually get bottlenecked
Yes.
at layer zero.
Yes.
So that layer zero is what we are trying to enhance, and we
Absolutely.
are trying to scale the entire ecosystem which is on top of it. So
That's a
what
beautiful-
Marlin is trying to achieve eventually.
Yeah.
Now, yeah.
So, coming to the point that layer zero is definitely it was definitely needed.
Yeah.
You're developing protocols to enhance Web 3.0 communication standards. So highly technical work going on,
Yeah.
and these are anything that you do in even Web 3.0 or even Web 2.0.
Yeah.
A lot of protocols have already been set at standards,
Yeah.
and when you were coming up with these kind of things, then you
Yeah.
are also setting up your own standards
Correct.
where other peer to peer journals which are in the technology space,
Yeah.
the cypherpunks, where they will be aware of what you're doing.
Yeah.
So in your business, in Marlin as a team,
Yep.
who is working on the cryptography, or who is that person who's working hardcore on tech, who's
Yep.
working on, who has a great knowledge of elliptic curves?
Correct. So yeah, about the team, right? You were asking like what exactly is the strength of this entire project? Like what is building this that we talk about
From the
block
text
delivery from the
perspective.
tech perspective, right? So yes, so we've got a pretty strong team there, and I believe our team is our core strength, as I even said in the
Even
beginning.
you joined for the same reason.
Even I joined for the same reason. So we've got Roshan, who is helping us on the blockchain side. He's pretty strong on the blockchain side. But then, having said that, we also said that our researchers come from MIT and Stanford labs. So
Absolutely.
we definitely get all the support from there. Pratish gets the support from his professor, Hari Balakrishnan. We are trying to kind of get as much support as possible from the best of the worlds. Like Hari is the networking best of the world. Like be it Ethan Fast, he has built one of the biggest peer-to-peer scaled decentralized a DEX, that you call it, a decentralized exchange. Then we have got people from like Ravi, who's helping us again on the networking side. And Pratyaksh also comes with a very strong networking
yes.
background, very strong.
And even
networking.
Siddharth himself, he was in
Siddharth
Zilliqa,
himself as
you
well.
know?
So he was in Zilliqa. He has been
Absolutely.
the master architect, one of the master architects, I would say,
behind
the Zilliqa project. So I think all of this combined kind of gives us the wings, the strength, and the muscle power that you call it.
The ammos are...
The ammos are all there. We just have to kind of position the ammos
And now
properly.
it just made proper sense to have a great business proposition and a great business model.
Correct.
Which works perfectly fine for all the stakeholders involved in it, being the investors, the early stage, backers.
Correct.
And you've gathered to have a few of them by now, and there's some big news coming tonight on the show as well.
Absolutely.
So what was the business sense, and how did business use cases were addressed?
Correct.
Right? And how was the business modeling done, keeping those use cases in mind? Who are these people who will try to make solutions? Using the Marlin Protocol?
Correct. Very, very good question and pertinent question. So Marlin has got 3 specific set of customers, to be precise. The first set is quite obvious. As we said, we are the layer 0 scaling. So anything who sits on top of us becomes our obvious customers.
Yes.
So right now, the layer 1s and the layer 2s, they use models like Gossip, which we believe is quite inefficient in terms of latency optimization, bandwidth optimization, and throughput optimization.
Yes.
So we essentially give
It's good as a white paper.
Yeah, absolutely.
But when you come on the physical ground and you've got to make a lot of transactions per second, it still doesn't work out that way. And there's always a trade-off for high security, and there's always a trade-off for having a bigger block size. Or we spoke about that earlier as well. And that's where Marlin's solution will be actually, I think would be the most balanced solution to not trade off a lot, and to get the most achievable, efficient solution
and not even break the network. It would be agnostic.
Exactly. It would be agnostic. It won't be dependent to either Ethereum or either any other system.
Correct. Absolutely. So that's our first primary market, which is the layer 1 and the layer 2 markets. And we are going to help them scale. Then the second market certainly comes in the form of all these decentralized applications, which requires faster communication, because we want to be the peer-to-peer communication standard, right, as well. So whoever requires faster communication, now by your logic you can guess it's the DEXs, like decentralized exchanges, wherein the relayers needs to talk to each other. It would be streaming applications. There are so many streaming apps coming out in the space, right?
Yes.
So they also need faster communication.
Yes. Storage systems.
Yes, IPFS.
Yes.
So for any of these like streaming apps, they would need to store their solutions on
storage,
IPFS.
like storage.
But then the data needs to be propagated on the system, right? On the network.
Absolutely.
That's where Marlin comes in. We also have a very wide use case in the IoT space, because as you understand, products like Block Cloud, they are working on the IoT space in future. So when you want to build an IoT network on a decentralized platform, you need the micro nodes to talk to each other. So again, there is a communication that comes in there. Gaming is another huge industry for us, which
one of the biggest affected by this.
Absolutely. So this is another second target market for us.
Social networking.
Yes, absolutely.
Because that needs a very high throughput.
The list goes on.
The great thing about this scaling factor is that we developers as well, we face problems making social networking applications and stuff like that, because there are so many concurrent connections at one point of time. Right? And to handle that active sessions at all times, you need a lot of throughput, and you need to have a lot of bandwidth. And I think it will be made much simpler, and dreams like that, on those lines, use cases on those lines, will be much achievable now post Marlin.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
that's
I think
what we also envision.
So maybe the blockchain segment will know Marlin as a pre-Marlin era and a post-Marlin era.
We just that's something that we want to achieve for sure.
Absolutely.
But then, let's see. It's definitely a grand vision. But it starts somewhere.
When you would have been fixing it all and everything came together, people would be like super interested in learning about this. Early stage backers would be interested in learning about this. So you had a lot of, like I said, that you have a lot of weaponry, in your vault. And now when it really comes out, a lot of people from the ecosystem who are believers of this would have come out straight away. Right?
Absolutely.
So were there any, and do we have anything special that you guys haven't told the community yet? And who are these people looking at you and you making them proud? Yes, I would love to.
You want the news to come out of the Pandora's box.
Absolutely. We know that there's something going on. And we know that there's a lot cooking, right? And what is the dish that will be served?
That we are finally serving to our guys.
Yes.
Okay. So the thing is, so we've, as I said, like the layer 0, layer 1s and the layer 2s, definitely we are exploring our tech with them. So couple of the models are, I'm sure you must be aware of them, Tendermins. We're talking to Grin, again giving a network layer solution. We're discussing with them. There are some dApp products like Block Cloud is another one
Yes,
who
who's
we are
coming.
talking with.
Yeah.
We've already got partnerships with Polo Chain. It's another
Awesome.
project which is
Yes.
quite well known. We've got a
They
lot
came
of...
to India as well.
Yeah, they came to India as well. They're pretty good friends with us.
Yeah, they were in Mumbai.
They were in Mumbai, but then we know them from the
Great.
other countries
Yes.
as well. And then we have also got a huge set of followership from the miner community, because at the end of the day, we would be running nodes, right?
Yes.
Wherein the nodes would be offering all those adaptations, the dynamic network adaptations that we have in our protocol,
Absolutely.
right? So the network adaptations, the incentivization that happens to the nodes
Yes,
that Marlin offers.
yes.
So the node community comes in, the miner community comes in as some of our
And
partners.
there's a special thing for them
Yeah.
that it is
Incentivizing.
for incentivizing
Yes.
the serving of information.
Absolutely.
Not just the block mining and broadcasting, but
Yes.
serving of information is also incentivized
Yes.
in Marlin Protocol.
So
That's a
let me-
great
Let me
thing.
quickly give you one brief. I think we didn't really touch upon this part. So what is
Yes.
Marlin's solution in a brief? Right?
Yes.
What is Marlin's solution? We
What is
understand that it's a layer 0 scaling. We understand that it's scaling all the blockchains. But then how are we doing all of it? Right?
Yes.
So Marlin achieves all of this that we are achieving through 3 or 4 major optimizations. One is a network optimization, one is a routing optimization, one is a node quality optimization, and one is an incentivization. So through network optimization, we are creating some kind of a dynamic adaptive network, which is adapting itself to any changes in load and the networking conditions without compromising on security, decentralization at any point, right? We've got several networking constructs, like I'm sure it's not worthy to kind of delve deeper into them,
Yes.
but then some naming, a couple of them would be path conditioning, multicast routing, multipath routing, a lot of application layer models like splitting, adaptive windows, and expansive windows. And then we are working on congestion control and all of that together, even FECs for a fact. So we're combining all of that together at the networking protocol layer, which is giving the wings that we are essentially offering to as a layer 0 scale. Then we have got protocol enhancements, wherein we are allowing compact blocks and using Bloom filters to help the scaling. I'm sure maybe this is a bit too technical.
Yes.
I'm not going deep inside it, just
Yeah.
overall touching things.
But we do get the point.
Yeah,
We
so
do get
it's
the point.
essentially a culmination of multiple things coming together.
Yeah,
And
4
most
of these
important,
things,
4 of
yeah.
these things. The node quality is something that we check at a dynamic layer, wherein whatever nodes offers good quality, we allow them to kind of propagate. The messages goes on to them, because it's an open market. Whichever
Absolutely.
nodes offers better performance, it goes to them.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Then we also ensure that instead of unlike working in a current ecosystem wherein
It's actually really good to have a quality optimization there when you check the node. So there's an auditor node
There are
who's
auditor
checking
nodes,
who's
yeah.
another nodes,
Yes.
other nodes who are either acting as full nodes or partial nodes,
Yeah.
and there's a health check. This
So
is the
we've
health
got-
check
We've
node.
got metrics like
Yeah.
price to performance metrics are
Yeah.
always checked, as in like how are the nodes offering whatever they're offering? Are they really
Absolutely.
meeting their
Yeah.
standards?
Absolutely.
And yes,
Prioritization gets set and a
Absolutely.
lot of things.
Absolutely.
Great.
So accordingly, the paths gets rerouted,
Yeah.
right? And finally, the incentivization, which is another very critical component. Like right now, the nodes work on an altruistic model. They only get paid for consensus, but they don't get paid for forwarding the
Yes,
path, the packets.
absolutely.
So this is
Exactly.
where Marlin comes in. It allows the nodes to get paid for forwarding, and that prevents a lot of these DDoS attacks, which can otherwise happen in the current system because it's not incentivized. A miner can always do a selfish mining. There are multiple attacks which comes
Absolutely.
in, like Finne attacks,
Absolutely.
and the selfish mining attacks, and several others. You can go through them in details in our white paper. So there are a lot
Awesome.
of
Yes,
information.
we
over
will
there.
share the white paper link with the
Please
video
do,
as well.
Please do. There are a lot of attack scenarios that we have talked about there. But having said all of this, like this is what we are kind of giving as an ammunition to all our partners,
Absolutely. And this is a great package.
Yes.
And the package,
Yeah.
you know, if I can assess it in like 5 minutes or 10 minutes
Yeah.
of a conversation,
Yeah.
other people might have assessed it much earlier because you met me a little later
Yeah.
in the time as well.
Yeah.
So we were not involved in a closed circuit, but other people from the ecosystem who you were deeply connected with in your network
Correct.
earlier have come in,
Correct.
have stepped in,
Correct.
and have said, "Go ahead, Marlin.
Yeah.
You know, be Marlin Pro."
So many backers.
You know,
so many
so many
backers.
backers.
Yeah.
To name a few, and you've got a big news coming out
Yep.
right now.
Yep.
You know, and so what it is, who's backing you up in
Yep.
terms of business?
Yep.
Who are your funders? And obviously, are you expecting something more out of the ecosystem? And how can we all, as an ecosystem,
Yep.
help you?
Help you. Certainly. So let me first give about how you guys can help me, and then I can come to the big
Okay.
news that we are talking about for a while.
Yes.
So first of all, the developers who are building any of their applications which requires any kind of communication standards or communication model can essentially use Marlin more as a plug-and-play standard. We have got plug-and-play modules, and the beauty of Marlin is it allows customizable parameters. Like for example, if you need low latency, you get low latency. If you
Absolutely.
need low jitters, you get low jitters. Basically, it's a network in a box with
Exactly.
its own customizable features, which
Got
you
it.
don't get with Gossip. So any of these applications which requires their customizations, they don't have to build it themselves. We are giving a collaborative enabler for them to just come and plug and play.
Yeah.
For the developers, it's also very easy to use because we are essentially using the same set of APIs which a lib P2P or a dev P2P uses, which the developers are quite comfortable with.
Yeah.
So we have kind of balanced out over there.
Absolutely.
And the security aspects, due to the incentivization that we have inbuilt, is almost pretty high standards.
Yes.
So given the performance is high, the security aspects are high, and ease of use is high, I think the developer shouldn't find any kind of bottleneck in using this as a solution.
Absolutely.
Right?
No doubt.
So we are definitely inviting developers to come together, help us out, be a part of this team, grow us together, help the ecosystem build, help ecosystem for Marlin grow.
Yes.
Now coming to what you were expecting for quite some time, so which is the Pandora's box information. So as I said, we've got a good set of backers, and recently, and this is something which we wanted to kind of push out in this edition itself of Inblox, that Marlin recently got incubated by Binance. And we
Congratulations.
and we are now fully backed by Binance Labs and funded and backed by them overall.
Yes.
And then we have got our strategic partners with Genesis Capital, Genesis Labs, and several others. So
great.
next month we are going to have a demo day in New York, wherein Binance is going to kind of introduce us to several set of other backers, like there are big funds too we are in talks with.
Yes.
So we are expecting some mighty things to happen in the near future.
Awesome.
We've also got a lot of private backers who are approaching us. They want to help us out.
Yeah. Is there an opportunity for private backers even now? You know, to come and speak, and like we discussed, and I know you as well.
Yeah.
It's more about not the money. It's more about the color of money, as we spoke.
Absolutely.
So the right educated investor,
Yep.
you know, can understand this because it's a very deep concept.
Correct.
Right. It's a mindset change.
Yeah.
And the reliability.
Yep.
You know, the trust that
Correct.
Marlin would need.
Correct.
Will be on, you know, cloud 9.
Absolutely.
And for that, you need the right set of investors. These are more like strategic investments right now that, you know, you're looking at. Binance being a great, you know, uplifter. And I selected UCZ and others. Whatever happens, you know, in phases of exchange being hacked and all that, that's all irrelevant. That's all immaterial at the moment. The point is that good projects are getting backed by great projects.
Yes.
And, you know, so that the good projects can reach greater heights.
Yep.
And now that, you know, you stepped in the accelerator there. So I think it's only going to go uphill from here.
Yep.
You know, and the market's going to.
That's what we believe.
Yes. And
strongly believe.
Yes.
In fact, we have high regards for CZ. He's done a fabulous job to build this ecosystem ground up, help so many projects, and a few really interesting projects are coming out of their labs.
And the great thing is that new interesting projects are coming out of Binance Labs, and most of them are coming out of India. You know, like you are
in fact,
there.
we are the first ones to get
directly back.
Yeah.
But and even in terms of support, now Binance is in India.
Yes.
Naman, you know, is very, very active everywhere now.
Yep.
And you know, Sandeep, like
Matic has done
really well.
Very good job.
Binance has given the extended support to them as well, and now probably having a talk with Karthik from Spring Roll as well. So things are going ahead. Things are moving on. Great projects are being worked upon in the industry, even if the policy makers are taking their own sweet time to derive things out of it. We're still making things, and if things don't happen, you know, they'll shift out. You know, they're already going out, so you know. We're losing on money, guys. The government needs to understand business is business. Right? Make it secure, but make it doable, achievable, and realistic. There's nothing which is you know, sham or a mockery in blockchain. If you want sham and mockery, then there'll be cases which happens in cash, in normal businesses, in loyalty points, loyalty rewards, insurance schemes, and a lot of other schemes. So things happen everywhere. Don't piggyback on Bitcoin or blockchain for making statements that it's a Ponzi scheme, it's a scam. Ponzi was not derived from the word blockchain or Bitcoin. Ponzi was derived from the word Charles Ponzi, who did a banking scam. All right. So equity markets, not crypto markets. So, you know, we had a great, fruitful discussion about what Marlin does, what Marlin is all about, layer 0 scaling, and what are the benefits of that. The team, that is the actual weaponry that you guys hold in the ecosystem right now. Great set of advisors, you know, on the network with you already. Great set of use cases that will be implemented using the scaling solutions. You are network, you know, agnostic. So many things that we spoke about, and now you know the audience knows about that. it was great having you here. We'll
you so
end up
much.
the show with a very short and fun trivia.
Sure.
I'll ask some questions. They're just random questions.
Sure.
All right. And let's see how close you get. There'll be 5 questions. If you answer 3 correctly, you get a gift, which is
Hamper?
unknown.
Okay.
Unknown gift.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And if you answer, if you don't answer 3 questions right, then you probably give me a gift. All right. So, the first question is, who are the founders of Ethereum? Name all the founders of Ethereum.
Okay. So I know that there are 3 founders there, but then I can only recall one name, which is Vitalik Buterin right now. I understand that Consensus Ventures was supported by Joseph Lubin, but then I do not really recall the other 2 founders right now.
Okay, Charles.
Yeah.
So, so the first question I'd give you, I don't
Half
think
marks.
I would. There's no half marks. in
Okay.
this. Okay. So we coming to.
I'm really scared I might just miss out on all the 5.
Who is the person who was in Ethereum, and which is the currency or network that he founded post Ethereum?
Okay. I don't think I recall the question.
Cardano.
Oh, Cardano. Right.
Charles.
Right, Charles. Right.
Okay. The third question is, what is the current Bitcoin reward that a miner gets after every 10 minutes?
So every 10 minutes, a miner gets, I guess, sorry, I forgot the number. Sorry.
12.5?
12.5. Yeah, correct. Bitcoin.
So even if you would have answered 12.5, I would have said wrong.
Why?
But it's going to be 12.5 plus transaction fees
Yeah, correct.
in the block.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So,
True.
although we don't need to ask more questions.
Yeah. You can stop insulting me further. So I think we can stop it right there.
No, it's fun. It's great having you on the show.
Thank you so much.
And we'll love to have you and Siddharth and other people back as well once he's back from the other states.
Sure.
And I hope you guys had a great time with Nilotpal Mukherjee from Marlin Protocol. They're doing great work. You guys can find out the white paper link from the video and also get in touch with them. You can email us. And we'll connect you to them. If you're building something on the blockchain ecosystem, if you're building solutions, if you're a developer who's looking to find new opportunities in the blockchain and I would say relay networks or blockchain solutions, development framework, then you should definitely get in contact with Marlin, and we'd love to support you, get connected with them. And thank you for the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming here.
Sure.
And we'll see you again.
Pleasure was all mine.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.